So I started pulling apart some of my page because I realized I didn't like using the announcements. You can see all right?
Yes.
Yep, okay, good. So yeah, I didn't really like using the announcements on the front. So actually I decided that for the units, I was just gonna have a weekly, announcement, because art is quite heavy with making sure that you have a lot of images and a lot of links. So a lot of the time has been going into developing sort of interactive readings and whatnot. So what I would be posting is a video with the weekly sketchbook topics, as well as kind of a brief introduction to what the 5 days of the class is going to be. I haven't put my calendar up yet because I was looking up for a way to set it as just days, not actually specific dates. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean, but
that way you don't have to change it each time, but or at least to set a start date and an end date so it generates the day 1, 2, 3 on its own. Do you know if that's possible?
I don't know. I do in Blackboard. It's possible to set it up and then to kind of shift everything a day, which is really helpful when you copy a course over. You need to change it for the following year. But I mean, that may or may not be a feature in Brightspace. I don't know for sure.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll look into that. I was trying to make it, work smarter, not harder kind of thing. All right, exactly. So if I go into, and I also can't figure out why the portfolio looks like the elementary one in the students, but looks like the adult one in mine. So that's something for tech. Anyway, I've started putting everything into content.
They have one that's just called portfolio and one that's called e-portfolio.
I just have one that says portfolio, and it's a feather in my educator one, but it goes into the student funster logo for some reason.
Okay.
But everything else seems to be. I'll contact the IT. Anyway, so I've been going into. So I have got all of the course description set up. I finally figured out how to do the meet the teacher information. I don't need that. So like if I go in, and the glossary that goes with all of the art material, the class lounge is finally set up. Finally got all this figured out. But when I go into the, sorry, my mistake. When I go in, I'm just putting it actually all by days, and everything is in these folders. I figured if it would be something that would make me more calm, it would probably make the students happier to find everything in one place. So like, obviously we got like the day 1 stuff. They've got little indicators there to help students know exactly what they're going to be doing. QR codes to link them directly if that's helpful. Their first intro, their intro topic, their intro activity is a micrography art piece where they write about themselves, but on top of the contour lines. We've got some videos here to help them know how to use it. They're embedded directly in, so you can use it. I'm just going to mute it. So they're all there in case they need to see some work. Then if we go into day 2, they start planning their artist statement to go with it. So this is so I have a diagnostics of their writing, their speaking, and their drawing abilities. And eventually they're going to show this on Flipgrid. So they spend about 15 minutes doing their artist statement to go with it, 30 minutes max. They upload it orally to Flipgrid, and they will post this later on, the written part, on an area I've got set up for activities in the assignment area here. So that's all embedded in there. Then they would go into day 3. We've got our readings. Now, I've posted the readings here just because, I figured you're not going to have access to this textbook, and so I wanted you to be able to see it if you needed to. So, for example, I wouldn't have it directly here because that could be pirating issues, or but just for the sake of this course, I've included them, and the students would have either a digital copy from the school or they would have a physical copy on loan. But it's got all of the information here. It's a lot easier because then all the images are in there. So when they go through all of this, there are some of these questions here if they want to use them as extra learning, but if I go back, we have, where is it? We have a discussion question that we're going into. What do we need to know while looking at art? And so if they wanted to get to that, they would go into here. Let me just open it in another tab. So if I go into the assignments page, I've separated them into activities, Unit 1. We've got them separated by the day. Day 2, Task 2, Micography, understanding the 7 elements of art, exit tickets here. And we've got the AOLs listed here as well. Oops, wrong one. Oh, why is that doing that? There we go. All right, so let me get out of this one. I don't need that. So they would put this up with their, I'm sorry, they would also make some comments on some other students' artwork, at least one other classmate's, sorry, not artwork, their post. And then they would also look at other people's micography self-portraits. They would comment on 2 of them, and they would also participate in the discussion, how are these portraits more like our true selves than the traditional portrait? And so if we go into that, back over here, no, back over here, where did I have that? Here we go. So we've got all this information here, more of it in here. So when we do the reflection, it's like we can click on these to download the file. And where did the other part go? No, not that one. Sorry. I might not have made it visible. Anyway, I'll move on. Pardon me?
Yeah, you're right, because you're in the student view right now.
Yeah, I think I didn't make that visible. I'll fix that up. So yeah, after they do that, so I still have the elements of design PowerPoint with the Pear Deck in there. I haven't done the voiceover yet because I still need to get the other stuff first, but that's what I plan to do before the summer ends. We have a copy of the 3A and 3A exit ticket, which are integrated to the Pear Deck, but for students who might not have access to a computer on a certain day, I would also have it available in a printout form, just to have the multiple assessment strategies. Day 5, they do a self-reflection on their micography self-portrait, which is part of the creative process. And then they're going to do, they're going to separate a page into 7 sections, and they're going to draw examples of the 7 elements of art on that page, as and read topic 4 and complete the exit ticket. So for the micography self-portrait reflection, I've got some kind of like prompting questions that they can use to help them answer in their reflection. Like, which ways do you feel like your artwork was successful? How did other people respond? Blah, blah, blah. And it just reminds them that this is part of the process, so it's important, and it's going to help them improve as an artist. So we've got this directly from the ministry with this area highlighted so they know what's happening. This is the part I was talking about, drawing the 7 elements. And when they have it, they're going to upload it to that assignment activity folder back up here. And they're going to read the visual arts disciplines and complete the exit ticket. This is just so that they know all the names of the different disciplines, because a lot of students don't really know too much about multimedia. And so they would go into this. Let me just open these. This one was just a plain reading with a Word document to fill in. So they've got this in here. all of these images talking about acrylic painting, oil-based, blah, blah, blah. This is just so that they have the terminology they need in order to speak about the work later on. And yeah, this has actually been really challenging for a lot of ESL students too, to kind of combine the vocabulary there. So where did that other one go? Ah, here it is. And so if I open up, this is the exit ticket. So this goes directly with the reading. So they have to list the 6 types of art disciplines, and here they put it in the graphic organizer. And then they put the subcategories on the right. They answer these respondent analyzing questions for topic 4, which are right in here. Which visual art discipline is used for each of these artworks up above? What questions do you have about the work? What suggestions, blah, blah, blah. Is this story about Narcissus best suited to traditional or more modern discipline? And so that exit ticket, sorry?
How do they submit that?
That one they're going to submit directly by uploading that folder into the discussion board. Sorry, not into the discussion board, into the activity. That way I can see that they have it, they've done it independently.
Okay.
I am basing the first unit on a lot of texts because the first unit integrates a lot of the theory so that it can be applied later on in the class. So the first unit is a little bit more heavy on the on some of the reading and understanding tasks. However, that's going to shift closer to week 4, I believe, or 3, sorry. Let me flip out of this. We don't need that open. So, I'm sorry, I'm taking a long time. I can move a little faster.
This is great. This is very impressive.
Thank you. I don't know. I feel like it's, I feel like I'm moving awfully slow. I went in and made a pair deck for the principles design. If I go in here, let's just see how it's going. Once again, I would put the, I would put a voiceover, but that includes, you know, doing the pair deck to YouTube and then doing the voice to Loom and then back to pair deck. So I'm putting that at the back of my list right now. But so we've got the different principles of art here. And so we talk about balance, and then we've got an example of a piece of artwork. They can read this if they want, but it's not essential. They've got 3 of these artworks, and then we go directly into trying to figure out whether these are formal, informal, and radial. So the first one says these composition A, this one here is an example of what type, and this one here is going to be informal. Or if you don't know, they can just tell me. Example B, the Taj Mahal, is going to be an example of formal because it's directly symmetrical. And C is going to be radial because it comes out in a spiral from that middle point. Yeah, I tried to make this one quicker than the last one. This one we just talk about the variety that we see. So like we can see that there's a lot of line use, there's a lot of color, blah, blah, blah. In this one, we have a sculpture example, so we can see the variety in the texture, in the colors, in the shapes. And then we choose one of those 2 images to go more in depth. How is the use of variety engaged the viewer's interest? So we've got some more critical thinking. So they can say, okay, B, you know, the use of texture and color makes this piece more interesting because it engages the viewer's tactile senses, and the different shapes hit the light differently, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. We go into harmony and unity, so we've got our definitions and how it can be implemented with the artwork, so how they can use it in their own work. And we can see this was animated, but I'll just kind of mention how it comes up. TJ, if you use Pear Deck, just heads up, the animations don't show up. They don't show up, so you almost have to use a video just to make sure they work. So the continuous lines, we can see with the dark color here, It's got lines going up and down. The repeated shapes, we've got these water lilies everywhere, these little brush strokes going up and down, and the repeated colors. We've got lots of whites, lots of blues, blah. We go in emphasis. The student circles an area where they see emphasis being used. So they might say, okay, they're emphasizing the child. And then, so what element was being emphasized in the area we circled? We could say form. Why do we think they decided to emphasize this? The free form shape of the child, you know, being sent over the Kosovo border shows how much their parents wanted this child to have freedom and to have a new life. We go into proportion, and we talk basically, you know, how does proportion of the objects and shapes relate to their importance? The apple is bigger, therefore it is very important. Movement, we can talk about the implied movement of these women, and I wasn't sure if this would work. And we talk about how not all movement is implied. Some of the artwork actually moves. And I did put a video in, but I don't think it's going to work. So I'm going to have to play with that. So it's just a quick example in there about sculptures that physically move so they can see it in action. I just figured the last PowerPoint was missing a little bit of the aesthetic in there, so and so they talk about how the artist shows movement and how does it add to the composition. Then we go into repetition. And talk about repeating the shapes, the blah blah blah, the repeating of colors, and the repeating of light and dark areas. And there's a video in here as well, which won't play in this format, so I have to play with that. And at the end, they get to circle anything that they feel like they had trouble with. So maybe they didn't feel comfortable with harmony, but they understood balance, they understood repetition, emphasis, movement, maybe they had trouble, variety, they knew, and proportion. This gives me an idea of what the students need to work on later on. I don't know. Yeah. So that's where it is for now. As you can see, it puts, I don't know, there's a lot of work in just building all the links and whatnot. So I find that slowing me down quite a bit, but you know, with time I can get this all finished up. The readings are basically done. Sorry, I'm just looking at my.
So do you mean the links to the assignments and things?
Can you say that again, please?
What do you mean by building the links?
Oh, just like making sure that like so the readings aren't so boring. You know what I mean? If
Right.
the first part is theory based, like days 1 to 9 are a lot of theory because a lot of students might not have bought their art materials yet.
Right.
And from 9 to 18 is mostly working on their artist trading card assignment and their sketchbook with maybe 2 or 3 readings in there. And the elements and principles of design test is scheduled for the 10th day. So yeah, it's a little heavy building the materials to go with the readings at the moment because they're not there. Yeah. But after that, it should be smooth sailing because most of it's going to be, you know, time for students to create and for me to check in independently, kind of like your weeks 3 and 4.
Right. So you've been creating much more of the theoretical.
Yeah, just because I've never, you know, I haven't taught this before, so and because I'm only a supply teacher, I don't have access to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry that took so long.